Y'all see Manny Machado get called for the first pitching clock violation on Friday? This was, to say the least, embarrassing for the future of the game. Yes, you're going to learn very quickly about me. I do not like where this game is headed. Traditional fans are going to stray away from the game if rules like the pitch clock keep being implemented. Baseball does not need a clock. Doesn't need a clock. Just let the players play. For crying out loud. Speaking of Machado, 11 years, $350 million extension for him coming off comments he was planning to opt out of his deal this season. He's going to be 41 when that deal is over. Man, the Padres are insane. With my rant over, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to Dugout Talk. Last week, I took a look at each team's potential opening day roster and gave my division predictions for the season. This week, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on one player every team should offer a contract to before the 2024 season begins. Before I start into the content, I am including impending free agents in this list. Yes, I realize negotiations during the season are very unlikely, not impossible, however. But again, this is before next season starts, so it includes off-season, spring training, you name it. Also, I chose players based on their value to the team now and what their value will be in the future. And lastly, I chose based on how realistically can the team offer an extension or contract to said player. There will be 5 videos in this series, and they will be split up by the 2022 division placements. So today we're covering the division winners of last year. I will also give my contract offer to each player, and this is all opinion, it's not official. I may seem like I'm lowballing it, I may seem like I'm highballing it, but that's just a general offer of what I would give said player. So with that said, let's not waste any more time and hop right into the video. We'll start with the Dodgers, who had the best regular season record last year. For me, this pick was easy. If you're the Dodgers, you absolutely have to sign Julio Urias. Clayton Kershaw won't be around forever, so they better make another plan A before it's too late. Urias has arguably been the best pitcher in baseball since 2021, winning 37 games and last year actually posting the best ERA in the National League at 2.16. Yet literally no one talked about him somehow. Since 2019, Urias has a 2.63 ERA and a 1.022 whip. The crazy part in all this is Urias is only 26 years old. He'll be 27 on August 12th. And this guy's in his prime. He's more than overdue for a Cy Young. This guy, if he stays healthy, he's going to be elite. Yes, he struggled early in his career with injuries, but he was also 20 years old at the time. That's kind of expected that he might have struggled. The last 2 years, however, they're a testament to what he's capable of, and if he replicates that this year, he's going to get paid. My contract offer for the Dodgers is 7 years, $210 million with a player option for an eighth year and a player opt out after 5 years. $210 million is the bare minimum I'd pay this guy, especially if he wins the Cy Young this year, or heck, if he even finishes top three. In this contract, I would offer bonuses for top three Cy Young finishes, winning Cy Youngs, and innings pitched milestones. The Dodgers, I can't believe I'm saying this, but please lock this guy up. Like, he is your ace for the future. And if he opts out after 5 years in this deal, he'd only be 32 years old. But if he rides the whole deal out through the eighth year, he'll be 35, which, I mean, being in your mid 30s, there's pitchers out there who have been able to perform to high expectations. Up next, we have the Houston Astros, and unlike the Dodgers, this one was hard because the guys I wanted to pick are either locked up, or the team is already talking about negotiating contract offers. Guys like Alex Bregman, for example. They also extended Kristen Javier before the training camp opened, so I decided to go with another pitcher in this rotation, and that's Luis Garcia. Garcia's been durable since breaking into the Astros rotation. I think he's only going to get better over time. He's 26 years old currently, and he has a 3.57 ERA with a 1.148 whip since he broke into the league last year. And he was also second in AL Rookie of the Year voting in 2021. He's a good middle rotation guy who will give you innings, and a 3.57 ERA is very respectable for a starter, especially because he's the five in that rotation. I would offer Garcia a 5 year, $74 million deal. It's pretty much the Javier contract, and to me, if Javier is getting a deal like that, Garcia easily can too. He has 3 years of arbitration that would be bought out, and then an additional 2 years added, and this would make him 32 years old at free agency. I think this deal makes sense for the Astros. They can more than afford this. Up next, we have the Atlanta Braves, and this team was even harder than the Astros pick because, quite frankly, the Braves just extend everyone, it seems like these days, and they extend them to the friendliest team deals possible. Nothing wrong with that. I actually love what they're doing because it's clear they value their players. But at this point, who else is there to extend? If they haven't extended them already, they're probably not going to. Lo and behold, bring in the rookie arm Bryce Elder. Elder is the perfect candidate to be extended by the Braves considering the recent history. I know Elder only has a small sample size of games, but if he can replicate his 2022 stint consistently, he will be worth the extension. Last year, in 9 games started, Elder posted a 3.17 ERA across 54 innings pitched. He did post a 1.24 whip, but he's young. Give him a pass on that, especially with that 3.17 ERA. You can definitely improve on the whip. He also tossed a complete game shutout as a rookie. That just does not happen. Okay, like that's very rare, especially for a rookie arm like Elder. He's going to be their number 5 starter, I'd imagine, this year as a 24-year-old. And again, if he can replicate 2022, the Braves rotation is going to be scary. My contract offer is very simple. It's an 8-year, $75 million deal. It buys out the 5 years of arbitration that he has left, and it adds another 3 years into what would be free agency. And by the end of this deal, Elder would be 32. Uh, yeah, I think you could even put an opt-out clause in there after 5 years if you wanted to, because if Elder is as good as what his 2022 stats were, he can definitely earn more money. The Braves want to win for the next decade. To me, locking up Elder in his prime, they realistically have a chance to just do that. Up next, we have the New York Yankees. The Yankees have a lot of really young guys who have too small sample sizes for me to lock them up to an extension before next season begins. But I think one guy that stands out who could get an extension is Nestor Cortez. Considering the Yankees locked up Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, I think locking up Cortez gives the team a three-headed monster in the rotation for the next few years. Cortez is 28 years old. He kind of broke onto the scene a little late. He will be a free agent after the 2025 season, but he's been very durable for the Yankees the last 2 years. And I know he's got a little hamstring problem going into spring, but I mean, that's not really that concerning unless if it severely hinders him. Across 251 innings the last 2 years, he has a .79 WHIP and a 2.61 ERA. And for a three in the rotation, that is fantastic. I know he has some injury history, but the Yankees don't need to break the bank on him. Just keep him around through the rest of his prime. My contract offer to Cortez is similar to Luis Garcia's. I'd offer him 5 years, 87 million with an opt out after 3 years. If he opts out, he would be 31 at free agency. If he rides the deal out, he'd be 33. And I think 5 years, 87 is a safe contract. I don't think this is overpaying a guy who's getting older. And he might even end up in the bullpen at some point down the stretch. But I think the Yankees are also telling Cortez with this contract he's very valuable to their future success, especially with how competitive that division is going to be. The opt out after 3 years is a way of saying if he feels like he needs a pay raise, he can exercise that. So if he dominates for 3 years, he has a chance to go earn money elsewhere or to give the Yankees a chance to renegotiate the contract. Up next for the Cardinals, I'm going with a starting pitcher here as well, and that pitcher is Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery was a solid addition at the trade deadline from the Yankees, and if you ask me, I think he's the perfect guy to help mentor the future young arms the Cardinals have coming up. Adam Wainwright and Miles Michaelis won't be around forever, so a 30-year-old Montgomery is the perfect guy to bring on board, especially if he can stay consistent. Montgomery hasn't been a brilliant pitcher in his career, but when he's healthy, he's basically a left-handed Lance Lynn. Montgomery last year posted a 3.11 ERA with the Cardinals alone. I believe he even had like a 5 or 6 start stretch where he either didn't give up an earned run or he only gave up one. So there was a point for about a month he was the best pitcher in the National League. His overall ERA last year was 3.48, and in his last 2 seasons, he has a respectable 3.65 ERA with a 1.18 whip across 335 innings and 62 starts. So 2 full seasons, I mean, that's what you want out of a middle rotation guy. Like Cortez, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm not breaking the bank on Montgomery, but I'm at least acknowledging he's a durable arm for the rotation and a vital part of mentoring the young players, like I was saying. I'm offering him 3 years, 36 million up front, but I'm throwing club options in there for a fourth and fifth season. If the club didn't pick up his fourth year, he'd be 33 at free agency. He could be as old as 35 when the deal is done. Again, it's a safe contract for a middle rotation guy who's not getting younger, but he's also a veteran presence that can help mentor those young arms like Matthew Liberatore, who are going to be coming up and being the face of that rotation down the stretch. And lastly, we have the Cleveland Guardians, and once again, I'm going with a pitcher here. To be honest, I'm disappointed the Guardians haven't extended this guy yet, and my pick is Shane Bieber. The Guardians are poised to contend for a while, and Bieber being at the front of that rotation will only make them more dangerous in the long run, especially as the Guardians develop more pitching, something they actually seem to be really good at. I mean, they have a solid rotation right now, it's just they don't seem to be healthy at the same time. Bieber is one of the best pitchers in baseball currently. He's going to be 28 on May 31st, so he's entering the peak of his prime years. Right now, he'd be a free agent after next season, so the Guardians need to get Bieber locked up before it's too late. Like they actually don't have that much time to do something before he enters the market. It's either get him extended now or you're gonna have to hope that he takes a somewhat of a friendly contract to return. Bieber in his career has a 3.17 ERA and a 1.9097 whip across 703 innings pitched. The crazy thing though is he has 831 strikeouts and only 153 walks. I think he also only has like 15 hit by pitches, or he's only hit 15 batters across his whole career. The guy's command is incredible, and I know the Guardians don't spend a ton of money on their players as a whole, but Bieber is an arm that they should break the bank on for their standards, especially because he can be a great mentor to the future talent making their way up. And again, if the Guardians want to compete, this is a guy that you want at the top of your rotation. My contract offer to Bieber is 6 years, 115 million with incentives for winning Cy Youngs, which he has won already in 2020, pitching in the playoffs, and finishing top five in any award voting. Bieber will be 29 next year in original free agency, but in this deal, he would be 34 at the end of the deal. The Guardians are getting Bieber through his prime and then some. And I mean, like I was saying with Cortez and Urias, I mean, 34 years old is still a solid age to produce, even if there is a little bit of a decline down the stretch. And 6'115", I think personally is lowballing it. I think for the Guardians, though, this is realistic just because they don't hand out massive contracts. The only thing I'd say is they probably have to include some kind of opt out, maybe after 4 years, just so if he is performing to a Cy Young level, he can get an opportunity to get more money if the Guardians aren't willing to nudge. But I think if Cleveland can at least build a good clubhouse culture and show that they're trying to win, that might be enough to keep Bieber around for the full contract. And that is it for part one of the series. Thank you for tuning in to today's video. If you like what you see, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when we upload new videos. We appreciate your support, and we will see you all in the next one.